All right, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for being here. Today, excuse me. Today we are in the book of Jonah. That's going to be page 618 if you're following along in the scriptures. We'll jump right in. Jonah. And the word of Yahweh came to Jonah, son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, the great city, and cry out against it, for the evils have come up before me. But Jonah rose up to flee to Tarshish from the presence of Yahweh, and went down to Japheth, and found a ship going to Tarshish. And he paid the fare and went down into it, to go with them to Tarshish from the presence of Yahweh. And Yahweh sent a great wind on the sea, and there was a great storm on the sea, so that the ship was thought to be broken up. And the seamen were afraid, and each one cried out to his mighty one, and threw the cargo which was in the ship into the sea, to lighten the load. But Jonah had gone down into the lowest part of the ship, and he lay down and was fast asleep. And the captain came to him and said to him, What do you mean, sleeper? Arise, cry out to your Elohim, if so be that Elohim shall think about us, so that we do not perish. And they said to each other, Come, let us cast lots, so that we know for whose sake this evil has come upon us. So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. So they said to him, Please explain to us, for whose sake is this evil upon us? What is your occupation? And where do you come from? What is your country? And from what people are you? And he said to them, I am a Hebrew. I am fearing Yahweh, the Elohim of the heavens, who made the sea and the dry land. And the men were exceedingly afraid, and said to him, Why have you done this? For the men knew that he fled from the presence of Yahweh, for he had informed them. And they said to him, What are we to do to you to make the sea calm for us? And the sea was growing more stormy. And he said to them, Take me and throw me into the sea, so that the sea becomes calm for you. For I know that this great storm is because of me. Now, as we read this story, I want you to think of Yeshua, because the sign of Jonah is the only sign that he said that he would give us. However, the men rowed hard to bring the ship to land, but were unable, for the sea continued to grow more stormy against them. And they cried out to Yahweh and said, We pray, O Yahweh, please let us not perish for this man's life. Do not lay on us innocent blood, for you, O Yahweh, have done as it pleased you. Then they took Jonah and threw him into the sea, and the sea stopped raging. And the men feared Yahweh exceedingly, and slaughtered a slaughtering to Yahweh, and made vows. But Yahweh anointed a great fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the stomach of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Chapter 2. And Jonah prayed to Yahweh, his Elohim, from the stomach of the fish. And he said, I called to Yahweh because of my distress, and he answered me. For the stomach of Sheol I cried. From the stomach of Sheol I cried, and you heard my voice. For you threw me into the deep, into the heart of the seas, and the floods surrounded me. All your breakers and your waves passed over me. So I said, I have been driven away from your eyes. Would I ever look again toward your set-apart Hekal? Waters encompassed me unto life. The deep closed around me. Weeds were trapped around my head. I went down to the base of the mountains, the earth with its bars behind me forever. But you brought up my life from the pit, O Yahweh, my Elohim. When my life fainted me, I remembered Yahweh, and my prayer went up to you, into your set-apart Hekal. Those observing false worthlessness forsake their own loving commitment. But I slaughter to you with the voice of thanksgiving. I pray what I have vowed. Deliverance is of Yahweh. And Yahweh spoke to the fish, and it vomited Jonah onto the dry land. Chapter 3. And the word of Yahweh came to Jonah and the second time, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and proclaim to it the message I am speaking to you. And Jonah rose and went to Nineveh according to the word of Yahweh. Now Nineveh was a great city before Elohim, of 3 days' journey. And Jonah began to go to the city on the first day's walk. And he cried out and said, Yet 40 days, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. And the men of Nineveh believed in Elohim and proclaimed a fast, and put on sackcloth, from the greatest to the least of them. And the word reached the sovereign of Nineveh. So he rose from his throne, and took off his robe, and covered himself with sackcloth, and sat in ashes. And he proclaimed and said throughout Nineveh, By decree of the sovereign and his nobles, no man or beast, herd or flock, shall taste whatever. Let him not eat, let him not even drink water. But let man and beast be covered with sackcloth, and call mightily to Elohim. And let each one turn away from his evil way, and from the violence that is in his hand. Who knows whether Elohim does turn and relent, and shall turn away from the heat of his displeasure, so that we do not perish. And Elohim saw their works, and they turned away from their evil way, and Elohim relented from the evil which he had said he would do to them, and he did not do it. Chapter 4. But it greatly despised Jonah, and he was grieved. And he prayed to Yahweh, and he said, Please, Yahweh, was this not what I said while I was in my own land? This is why I went ahead and fled to Tarshish, for I know that you are an El showing favor and compassion, patient and of great loving commitment, and relenting from doing evil. And now, O Yahweh, please take my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live. And Yahweh said, Are you right to be displeased? Then Jonah went from the city and sat on the east side of the city and made himself a shelter there, and sat under it in the shade to see what would become of the city. And Yahweh Elohim appointed a plant and made it come up over Jonah to be a shade up for his head, to deliver him from the discomfort. And Jonah greatly rejoiced over the plant. But as morning dawned the next day, Elohim appointed a worm which struck the plant so that it withered. And it came to be, when the sun came up, and Elohim appointed a scorching east wind, and the sun struck on Jonah's head, so that he grew faint, and asked for his life to die, and said, It is better for me to die than to live. And Elohim said to Jonah, Why have you rightly become displeased over the plant? And he said, I have rightly become displeased even to death. And Yahweh said, You felt sorry for the plant, for which you have not labored, nor made it grow, which came up in a night and perished in a night. And should I not pardon Nineveh, the great city, in which are more than 120,000 beings who have not known their right hand from their left, and much cattle? Saying, do you love this plant? You care more about this plant than 120,000 people? All right, that is the book of Jonah. We'll see you next time.